with 5 big games. Steve, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. So here's a very general question, and I tried to eyeball this throughout the season. If you just took all the underdogs with the money line, not that that's a smart thing to do,
Right.
But if you did, you would have to. And I know it's a general question because obviously the payoff is all over the place. A 4-point underdog versus a 12-point underdog, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But you would probably have to get about 40 in the low 40 percentile, right? I would think.
Yeah, it's tough to say in college because you've got so many big favorites in college football. The NFL, you could probably run that a little more accurate just because everyone's within a single-digit spread normally.
Yeah.
But there's no question if you look at the bowl money lines, like a 7-point underdog in a bowl game does not pay off as well as it would in the regular season because these teams definitely went outright more often than they would. I didn't mean to cut on the Fresno game too. I couldn't remember if you'd already given me the lead in on that or not. So
no, I didn't. That's why
I realized you didn't. I went long-winded on the money line thing.
But I've noticed that every year with the bowl games, there's more upsets.
Yeah, I was glad you brought that up because I did mean to mention that earlier when I was saying underdogs in general are worth a look. You definitely want to look at them on the money line. But the last few years, the last decade or so, they definitely skew them more than they used to. It used to be a great play because they didn't make those adjustments, and you'd get 3-1 on a 7-point dog like you would in October. Now it's like 2-1 in a bowl game where.
So they're not adjusting necessarily the line as much as they are the money payout.
Yeah, the money lines are, and you see this on the Super Bowl also. Like the money line on the Super Bowl, you never get the true odds on the underdog like you would in the regular season because the public either plays the favorite minus the points or they just take the plus money to win outright. In the Super Bowl more so than they do in the regular season for some reason. And the bowl games are kind of public as well, I guess. That's probably another reason. You get a lot of square money this time of year. People that come out of the woodwork, I guess, and start playing.
Yeah.
Or people that have recovered from losing all their money in September.
Yeah. Well, if you're like a buddy of mine that I make fun of all the time, he used to not like college football. He was an NFL guy, and he would just bet the college bowl games,
right,
just to be interested in them.
Well, the NCAA tournament's the same way. The tournament's the ultimate example of that. I mean, because college basketball doesn't have nearly as much regular season action, but then the NCAA tournament is second only to the Super Bowl, probably, as far as interest.
I never understood conjuring up interest in something that's not going to benefit you. I just never understood that. Go read a book or do something else besides of. Okay, so I guess
you want to use that. We could use that segment for SG1, probably, couldn't we? You think that same segment that we just did?
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Because
I think we can get away with it the one time here because I know when I first started doing some content for them just to maximize my resources, I doubled up and people started complaining that the same segment, but for one time, I don't think it's going to matter.
What were they? Oh, you mean the viewers were complaining?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a different site, so why would that matter? I mean, I thought SG1 didn't want you mentioning your site or something, maybe, which I don't think is an issue. But
no, according to him, I didn't come across this. According to him, people were complaining because they said, "Well, I clicked the same, the Georgia Texas preview, and I saw the same video." And
I think that's silly. I mean, they could go to 2 different sites because maybe you don't see it. I don't.
There's shared videos all over the place.
Yeah. I don't think that's. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it at all. Then I think we're good to go.
I think we're good with that. So.
I'm pretty flexible on the schedule. I'm not traveling or anything the next couple of weeks, so just let me know what you want to do. I mean, Tuesday the 18th works next week if you want to do another one.
Yeah, that should work for me as well.
I'm looking at the schedule.
Question. Yeah. So in college and the NFL, and I know the money management is a huge factor in this that I'm not weighing. What were your numbers and what are they currently in regards to against the money line and against the spread?
I don't have the exact. I'd have to look up the money line. Yeah.
Again, you're all over the place with how much weight you're putting in different games.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And like you said, I mean, mathematically, a 12-point dog is going to win outright less, but you're getting a better payoff. So, return on investment should be the same long term. From the things I've run over the years, I think you do slightly better splitting it on the money line and the underdog. But the other thing you got to remember, Mark, though, is like the money lines, when you get to the bigger spreads, they really start skewing the payouts. So technically the house edge is bigger because, it's usually a 20-cent line. So if it's minus 150, it's plus 130.
Yeah.
But if you get to minus 600, it's plus 400. Then that's a 200-cent line.
Yeah.
So you get diminishing returns because the true odds are 5-1, you're only getting 4-1. Whereas if the true odds are plus 140, you're getting plus 130, you're not getting screwed too much. So I do think once you get to bigger point spreads like college football, it's probably not as good of a play for that reason. There's more of a house edge built in, which you got to figure as well.
I was really trying to hone down this and grind down this whole thought that I'm picking roughly 20 games, 20 to 22 games a week as I'm picking all the top 25 games. And I'm seeing this trend of, again,
right
between 22, 25% are straight up underdog winners, and then trying to grind down and find those 4 to 6 games every week.
I think what you should focus on, because I know in the NFL, the numbers I've run over the years, I've always looked at 7 and less. Touchdown favorites or less.
Yeah.
And I think about 80% of the time, if you pick the straight up winner, you get the spread winner. So basically only 20% of the time does the point spread come into play. But then again, of course, 50% of the time the favorite's winning, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
So I guess 30% of the 50% underdogs win outright. So that's what I would recommend. Maybe in college football, start doing the research on 7 or less. Because first of all, they'll make it easier, and then also that makes those are more competitively priced games.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, also, like I said a minute ago, you're not getting skewed as much on the payout because like a 7-point favorite is usually like minus 320, which means the take back is plus 260. So already you've got a 60% line versus 150 and 130. Like on a 3-point favorite, it's like minus 160 plus 140. So when you get to 10 or more, you're just getting skewed too much on the house edge. So I would do 7 or less. I think that's probably a good target for your research, and see what you come up with. I know in the NFL it's like about 80% of the time. The spread only comes into play 20% of the time when it's a touchdown or less, which means 8 out of 10 games the spread doesn't matter, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. In college football, it'd be a little less because the lines aren't quite as accurate. But I guess it's 70 still, maybe. 7 out of 10 times it doesn't matter. You either win by more than 7 or the team wins outright.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let me know what you find if you do any research.
Yeah, I got the results of all the games that I pick, and I wouldn't be able to.
Do you have the spreads on them though?
I've got the spreads. Yeah, I've got.
See if I'll do the ones that are 7 or less. Maybe start with that and see what you come up with.
Yeah, I just don't have the payouts.
I can give you a good. Let me message you the odds site I use. I think you can go back and several months on the calendar, and you can click on each game and see the money line. So if you want to pull up the money lines for all the games this year, you could probably do it that way on any of the ones you need to. So I'm going to message that to you now so I don't forget.
Very good. Thank you.
It's actually it's sbrodds.com. It's Sportsbook Review.
Oh, okay.
Big
yeah.
So SBR Sportsbook Review, sbrodds.com. That's the site. And you'll see there's a little calendar icon that goes back all the way to like September, August. And just pull up the date. So you basically just pull up the Saturday. And then on the drop-down menu, you can do sides. You can do spreads, totals, money lines. So just click money lines, and it'll list all the games that day with the scores.
Okay.
And you won't even have to click on the games. You'll see the money line, the plus and the minus for every game. So you can quickly go down for any Saturday and log them all probably, write them down. Or you could go back and just do the spreads and see all the games that are 7 or less, and then click money line and see the money line, and the scores show there too. So what you could actually do is look at the spreads and just look at everything plus 7 or less and see how many won outright. I guess that'd be a starting point.
Yeah, I've got all that right here.
Oh, okay, got you.
But
if you want the money line,
week 1 would have been a killing. Week 1, underdogs of 7 or less went 4-2.
And they probably drop the money line just a little bit. And the other thing, keep in mind too, if it's a higher total, the money line is going to be less. And that's another reason bowl games are less, because they are higher totals because they're more scoring. So obviously, like in an NFL game where the total is 39, a 7-point favorite is more solid than a 7-point favorite when the line is 81, an Oklahoma game or something where it's going to just be back and forth because the points don't matter as much. So a 7-point favorite with an over-under of 40 is a much stronger 7-point favorite than when the total's 80. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
the points, every point is worth more. It's worth double. So you'll see a slight difference in money lines for that reason, and also a road favorite of 7 points is going to be less of a money line favorite than a home favorite, just because they're going to lose outright a little more often just because of the randomness of being on the road.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're only talking about 10 or 20 cent difference. It might be minus 350 versus minus 320 just because of those technicalities on a 7-point favorite. And there's some websites too, if you really wanted to do it quickly, they have a money line converter where, like, on average what each point spread is worth, but that's not exact. That wouldn't be nearly as accurate as seeing what the real line was. But check out that website. That'd be a good starting point for you.
Interesting.
All right, buddy. I'll let you run, and we'll talk on Tuesday. Thanks,
Thank
Mark.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you. Bye.